Why do we fall out of the flow and lose our rhythm? Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? Great to see you. My name is Thomas, and welcome to my channel. I do mostly educational themed videos, a lot of different subjects, a lot of the just basic subjects, but a kind of a quantum or even like a reciprocal viewpoint on those subjects. So, you know, your math and your geometry and your history and your physics and chemistry and, you know, your health and wellness, your phys ed, but kind of a different perspective on those things based on many years of research, mostly on my own body to try these things out, digging in the stacks of libraries to find books that nobody's ever read before or not recently. And I guess I got that from my history background, and I'm going to try to present many of those subjects to you on this channel. First, we are focusing on, the first unit we're focusing on is the tree of life. And I'm going to be rolling out 144 videos, one per day, on various minor aspects of the tree of life, you know, kind of details about the tree of life. When you add them all up, it adds up to, you know, a comprehensive picture. If you'd like me to send you a guide to those 144 mini faculties of the tree of life, just click the link in the description. It'll help you as we go through these videos, because then you'll have a kind of a baseline or reference point to kind of place all of the different videos, because I know 144 is a fairly large number. And as we move through these videos, what we'll do is the first 2/3 or 3/4 of the video will be spent on an introduction to the tree, which is just focusing on the 12 kind of major aspects of the tree. And then at the end of the video, we'll boil it down, and we'll focus on just one of the 144 minor aspects. So just click the link in the description if you'd like to get that for free. Here is the aforementioned tree of life, and this model goes all the way back to ancient Egypt, at least, probably way before that. And it is, you know, a geometrical diagram with 12, it's got 10 different spheres, 22 lines connecting them, and a few other components along the way. It's basically a model of our faculties of consciousness, or a map of our consciousness. Each one of these spheres or circles is a different aspect of our consciousness. There's 10 of them here: 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then there's also an abyss, the abyss right here. This is a dotted circle or an applied sphere. And then there is a 0 above the tree. So that makes a total of 12 different components. To get the 144, I basically just take the whole tree, all of our faculties, and then I apply it to each sphere. So, you know, I place a whole tree on here to break this down to 12 parts. Then I do the same here and here and here for a total of 144. If I wanted to go to another level, I could take that tree and then I could boil that down and place it on the little, you know, mini aspects. That's a little too complicated for right now. But I think that the 144 really does shed a lot of light on how to understand each one of the 12. And I arrived at this model because it's a great thing to use for organization. You organize your mind based on this model, and it helps you to just kind of be able to remember things, helps you to be able to prioritize things, and it's also a form of self-defense, because a lot of the people who do use this model are using it in order to take advantage of you. And so if you know how it works, then you're not so much of a victim to their evil intentions. Okay, now let's go over the 10 and actually the 12, the 10 spheres and the abyss and the 0. So the 10th sphere is really like our wild animal consciousness. This is survival of the fittest, the state of nature, kill or be killed. This is also the life force, our life force that keeps us alive regardless of our input or our voluntary actions. We automatically digest our food, and we automatically keep our heart beating. But we can actually reverse or weaken that life force through a negative 10th sphere, like our defilements and our lusts of the body. When we elevate those, those defilements over our own life force, that it weakens our life force, and eventually our life force doesn't have enough energy to keep us going, and that's how we end up dying of disease and so forth. Okay, now the 9th sphere is really opens up in the first handful of years of our life, where this is really what you would call the domestic consciousness. This is where you are growing up in the home, and you are super highly receptive. Everything is new to you and wondrous, and you are staring at your caregiver, you're watching intently what they do, and then eventually you learn to imitate what they do, and to practice that imitation over and over and over until you get it, and then you eventually memorize it. So that's really what we're talking about, is heightened receptivity, and then imitation, practice, and or repetition, and then memorization. One of the problems is that the 9th sphere is blind, so it will imitate anything, regardless of if it's an abusive pattern or if it's a self-destructive pattern. It will imitate that, and that's why it's important if you are a caregiver to set the best examples for your kids or the children that you're in charge of, because they will pick up all of the bad things that you do. So you got to try to set a good example. Okay, then the 8th sphere is also similarly blind, where it just follows and doesn't exactly ascertain whether it should be following or not. The 8th sphere, where the 9th sphere is about the domestic consciousness, the 8th sphere is about our public consciousness, or the consensus worldview, the everybody knows that, the expert opinion, the conventional wisdom. This is where all the establishment is located, the powers that be, and it's where all the resources are located. So we have to kind of break into here in order to get any resources. But at the same time, we have to be aware that the 8th sphere is a deceiver and a trickster. And so it's really giving you your belief systems and forming your logical faculties. So those are really the aspects that we have, the belief system and the logical faculties, but we kind of pervert those by listening to what's going on in the 8th sphere, and to really using the 8th sphere as like the end as opposed to the means to an end. We we over amplify the A-sphere. We turn the A-sphere into like the whole tree, whereas it's only just 1 out of 12 different faculties that we have, and really our third lowest faculty at that. But you know, many people feel that once they get into the A-sphere, then they've arrived. And they, you know, because then once you're in the A-sphere, then you're telling everybody what to believe, and you're telling everybody how to think. So, you know, the A-sphere is blown out of proportion. It doesn't mean that it's not useful, but that it just doesn't, it isn't the answer to everything. And so, you know, the healthy thing is to really get into the A-sphere, you know, pay it lip service, be respectful, but, you know, recognize that you're moving on. And then when you move on, you know, where the A-sphere is about like the real world, then the seventh sphere is the imaginary world. So the seventh sphere is when you get into the A-sphere and you recognize that all the things that they tell you, you know, the consensus worldview, the conventional wisdom, that these things need to be taken with a grain of salt. And you can see that these things are not optimal. And so at the seventh sphere, you're imagining something better. You're imagining a better A-sphere. And then you also have other kind of creative faculties that help you to formulate alternatives to the A-sphere, such as inspiration. You get inspiration from somebody who's come before you, and you're able to stand on their shoulders. You can use your intuition by really wondering and being curious about things and being curious about how to make things better. You ask those questions internally and you get answers, and the answers are correct. Then also you have your creative spark, your ability to come up with new, novel ways of looking at things and doing things, and also your pleasure principle, your ability to put things together in pleasing arrangements that other people are attracted to. You can use all these things to come up with your alternatives to aspects of the A-sphere. So you might have a creative resource such as a story or a play or a painting, or it could be an invention, or it could be, you know, some other kind of intellectual property, anything that is, you know, providing an alternative to some aspect of the A-sphere. Okay, and this allows us to keep moving up also with our inspiration. We have models, we have, you know, other people who've done great things that we can follow along on this path to the sixth sphere, which is really where our essence is located and where the center, it's the center of the sphere, and this is where we are. If this was a map, it would say you are here. And this is our free will faculty. The sixth sphere is our free will faculty, our ability to pay attention, and our ability to make decisions. And the first of those decisions that we must make is to turn around our attention, because our attention is focused generally down here at the bottom of the tree, especially 8, 9, and 10. And but if we can make the decision to avert our attention from our lower aspects and focus it on our higher aspects, then we begin to make progress on the spiritual path. Now, this requires a great deal of courage, because this is our comfort zone. This is how we grew up. This is what we're accustomed to. And so to turn our backs on that and to turn around and kind of face the unknown, which is mostly our, you know, the upper spheres are mostly unknown at this point. It requires some courage. We have to stand in the face of fear. Okay, then the first thing that we direct our attention to on the higher spheres is to the fifth sphere, which is our sense of justice. So the fifth sphere is our sense of justice. This is otherwise known as karma. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What comes around goes around. And you can think of this as like a mirror here. So if you are acting, you get a reaction on your actions. And the reaction of karma is based upon violence, waste, and violation. So when you act violently, you get violent action and reaction in return. But which is maybe not optimal for you. But if you're paying attention, you will recognize that that's happening. And so you will say, well, I won't do that again. I won't commit that act again, and then I won't get that kind of reaction. So you can clean up your behavior by paying attention to your karma. So your karma becomes your friend instead of your enemy and your teacher. Same thing here with the fourth sphere, where the fifth sphere is about our the enforcement of the natural law or the natural order of things. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that law. And so, we learn that if we can learn how the laws and the order of nature, then we can make much better decisions about how we govern ourselves. And so we can identify the basic principles of the universe and the order of things by studying cosmology and holy books. So, books that purport to and other media also, that purport to talk about how everything works, how it all fits together, and what are the various functions of, who is God, where did we come from, what are we doing here, what's the purpose, where are we going, these kind of questions, these overarching questions are what we study when we study cosmology. And then for good measure, if we study many cosmologies, which is recommended, then we can kind of use our intuition as well to ask ourselves, because the different cosmologies are going to be pretty similar, but they're going to have differences. And so we can resolve those differences through our intuition. But basically, by understanding the universal law and the universal principles, we are able to, just make better decisions about our lives and, to have more agency with our lives. Okay, then the abyss here is about our psychic powers. This is mainly like our ability to tune into and recognize omens. Omens are, synchronicities or strange events, coincidences that kind of trigger in our mind that, wow, that's weird. Oh, that's interesting. What a coincidence. Those kind of reactions of our mind should be a trigger for us that, oh, this is actually something important that I should be paying attention to. And so that is the psychic receptivity, to be able to recognize that this is important. And then the second part of the psychic powers is psychic heat, which is the ability to actually act upon recognizing the omen. So when you get the omen, it should have a course of action also attached to it. And to be able to take that action, again, requires courage, because you have to put yourself out there and expose yourself to vulnerability. And but this is kind of the path of action, where you the universe is telling you to act and how to act, but the question is, can you do it? So that's really where our psychic powers are. Then we have 3, 2, and 1 above the tree, or at the top of the tree. These are our divine faculties within. So the divine powers: omnipotence, all-powerful; omniscient, all-knowing; and omnipresent, all-present, all at once, eternally. And this is mainly a sound thing, as this whole side of the tree here. This is being able to tune into rhythms, mantra, sacred drumming, sacred music. And then this is really through vision, being able to, this is omniscience, all-knowing, or wisdom, our ability to solve problems. We tap into this either through a divination system or through our own discipline of meditation, where we're able to lay off the content of our mind and actually calm our mind to the point that we can see through the mind. And when we see through the mind, we see the image of wisdom. And the image of wisdom is the first sphere. So what we see is we see the first sphere, which is omnipresence. And this gives us the answers to our problems. So the second sphere is about seeing the creator, but the first sphere is about being the creator. So this is, we actually sink down to that center, to our deepest center, our core, our essence, singularity, and we are able to merge with that, and that gives us kind of a unification, because we recognize that what is at our deepest center is exactly the same thing that's what is at everybody else's deepest center, and so we're connected with everything through that center, and so that is the omniscience, the omnipresence of the first sphere. Then we have the zero sphere above the tree. This is mainly like the mystery and the nothingness. Also has to do with inner peace, but it's not part of the universe. It's part of the creator, but it's not part of the universe. So there is no zero, there is no nothing, but it is an indirect faculty that we have. Okay, that is the introduction to the 12 different aspects of the tree. Now, when we go to look at, take our microscope out and look at the one of the 144 faculties, mini faculties, today we're looking at number 99. Why do we fall out of the flow and lose our rhythm? Number 99 is called Snuffed Out Through Awestrike. And this here is located in the third sphere. So number 99 is in the third sphere. And the third sphere, again, is omnipotence, all-powerful. We tap into this through sound. And it's really like synchronization. And then in addition to that, we have the eighth sphere. So we're talking about the eighth fractal, or the eighth aspect of the third sphere. The eighth sphere has to do with the consensus worldview. It has to do with the belief systems. It has to do with logical thinking, and it's generally has to do with like the trickster or a deceiver. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. Number 99, Snuffed Out Through Awestrike. Stage number 99 is about being overwhelmed by the power of synchronization, which causes us to fall out of sync, a short circuit. After a lot of work, we suddenly slide into the zone. Here we are. We experience possession by a higher power. But soon, we're dumbstruck. We have reached an exalted state of consciousness, but it is unfamiliar and awe-inspiring. The novelty, the wow factor, moves us right out of this state that we worked so hard to cultivate and sends us back down. The beautiful strangeness has us overwhelmed, which triggers our inner control freak to reorient ourselves, talking to ourselves for reassurance about where we are and what we're doing. We cannot just live the experience. We have to assert control. Cast out of the zone, causing us to lose our connection, to lose our possession. We can't intentionally replicate the experience. but sometimes we do anyway, by accident. We have learned synchronization through sound deployed over matter, cymatics. Sounds and frequencies create geometric shapes in a liquid medium, and we are mostly water. We entrain the higher powers by invoking geometrical shapes. Each is a specific state of consciousness. We're tapping a source that is too awesome to sustain for long with our current level of training. We can't stay long as we are in over our head for now. Still just passing through the zone, just passing through the bliss. Not a possession, but just a visitation. We've learned how to be tuned in, to be in tune, to be in sync, to be in the zone, but we have not learned how to handle success once we get it. The success, the visitation, is surprising, short, and only transient. We pass through the zone without stopping. We have no shock absorbers to damp the amplitude. When we grasp onto or indulge into the bliss, into the possession, we lose focus, and that shuts it off. The bliss is too much. It's too awesome. We automatically panicked. We got too excited. The amplitude was high, too high. The volume was too high. Even in the moment, we reverted to spectating and speculating about other moments. We let our mind wander until we're out of the now. Bent out of shape, shorted out. Keep working though, because the more we repeat, the more accustomed we become. And we will learn to sustain as the awe subsides. All right, that is the 8th fractal of the 3rd sphere, number 99, snuffed out through Ostrike. And so that is, generally about meditative practices that include mantra, and it's about, finally getting to that exalted state of meditation where we've lost ourselves and we're in the zone and we're being possessed by the higher power that's within us, and it's overwhelming us and we can't handle it. We've gotten to that place that we've wanted to get to for so long, that's been so elusive, but then once we get there, we can't stay, because we're not, we've still got too many clinging habits that we end up having to grasp onto, even though we are in a blissful state. Even the bliss is, it's too awesome, and we revert to all the habits of our mind. But it's still a positive thing, because it's it's just an experience as a step toward getting to that state, because we get to that state but we can't maintain it, but that experience allows us to become more accustomed to it, and so maybe next time we'll be able to stay there. But we're not quite good enough to be able to get there anytime we want. It's kind of it's an accidental thing, and so we have to kind of just be patient until the next opportunity comes. All right, well, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I appreciate it. And also, if you got anything out of it, you can click the like button. You can share the video with others and subscribe to the channel. You can click the link in the description to get my list of the guide to the 144 fractal faculties, which will help you, if you watch my videos, to kind of put them in order and to understand how they interrelate to each other. And then you can also donate directly to me through Cash App or Venmo, which are also listed in the description. Meanwhile, looks like it's going to be a hot day here, and hope you're doing well wherever you are and that you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow for the next installment.